What's up, y'all? It's Savannah from the Savannah Lynn, the Savvy Truth, simply Savannah Lynn. You know what? I'm all the things today. Also, I'm kind of all over the place right now because I'm getting ready to go to, you guessed it, rodeo summer school. So super stoked about that. But let's just get straight into today's video. We are going to be discussing some kind of a little bit out there conspiracy theories. So if you don't really like having your mind twisted in ways that make you uncomfortable, this is your cue to leave, I guess. So today's topic is going to be, is the Statue of Liberty a statue of Lucifer? Question of the day. I'm not sure. Let's go into some history, though, of this statue that we see in the harbor of New York that says, "Bring me your tired, your weary, that need rest." Let's just get right on this. So, in 1865, when a Frenchman, and I'm so sorry to all you French people out there, the next few French names I will butcher, I am sorry. Edouard de Laboulaye proposed the idea of presenting this monumental gift from the people of France to the people of the America of the United States. All right, so a little bit backstory. This was right after, a little bit of ways away, but the American Revolution. We have our independence. We just kind of had a civil war. Like, we're getting our feet mostly on solid ground as far as countries go. But the French and us, we're pretty simpatico. Remember? And the Revolutionary War, the French wanted to help us out. They kind of gave us a little bit extra boost that the Americans kind of did need in order to defeat, you know, like the world's largest military and naval superpower that had ever existed. So one of the main actually contributors to the idea that the French should get involved in the war was a general named Marquis de Lafayette. If you guys are fans of the TV show ironically called Liberty's Kids, you'll know him from that TV show. Just a little bit of a little sprinkle in there. But the French basically wanted to give America a gift to say thank you for having your back, even though they were the ones who got involved in a war that they didn't technically have anything to do with at the time. But as many of the French people believed, especially people like Marquis de Lafayette, it was kind of a, if we scratch your back, will you maybe help us scratch ours in the future? Because the French had also been dealing with a lot of British tyranny for quite some time. So this was basically a, hey, we're besties, right? Like, right kind of gift. At least that's how I kind of think of the Statue of Liberty. So the dude who wanted this statue to be erected in the first place is this guy right here. Edouard de Laboulaye. He first proposed this idea to the United States as a commemoration for getting over not only a Revolutionary War, but then right after a Civil War. He was an abolitionist. He was a leading expert in the United States Constitution. And just quite frankly, he was fascinated with American politics and how we decided to paint and run our country. Because you guys have to remember, at this time, the way that we were running America was kind of an outlandish, crazy idea. No one had tried this before, so everyone was kind of just sitting back and going like, I wonder how this is going to go down. They were kind of waiting for either it to go up in flames or to somehow succeed. It's like one of those terrible like car crashes or like train crashes that's like really awful, but also at the same time, like you can't look away. So the French people were going to finance this statue for America, and it was going to be a special gift. 10 years after he originally proposed this idea, it actually got moving in motion. And in September of 1875, he announced the project and the formation of Franco-American Union as its fundraising arm. And now you guys have to remember, have you ever been to the Statue of Liberty in New York? This statue is huge, all right? And for its time back in the 1800s, this was a huge project. It's not like building statues today or building skyscrapers where we have giant cranes and these big boats that are so big they can carry other boats. These boats were going to be huge. Like, think Titanic level boats. Like, the intuition and the engineering that went into a feat like this was pretty reputable for the time. This was kind of a big deal. Just keep that in mind. Big deal, big statue, big ideas, all right? So, de Laboulaye had a love for democracy and for America, and this was supposed to be like the cherry on top for whatever good graces that France had in our eyes at the time. So you might be wondering, did this Edward de Laboulaye guy design the Statue of Liberty? No, he did not. The designer is actually this man right here, Frederick Auguste Bartholomew. I'm so sorry to all you French people out there. English is hard enough. French is not going to be my second language. All right, so we're just going to call him Frederick for now because that's easier. Frederick was a world-renowned French sculptor, okay? This dude studied with like the best of the best in sculpting and painting and the oils and all of the things that you could do at the time in the 1800s because digital computer coding was not an art just yet. That was my attempt at a really bad joke. Anyway, so he was the one who got the lucky straw to be able to design this Statue of Liberty. Now, here's where we get into a little bit of the allegations, a little bit of conspiracy theory. All of this is alleged, supposedly. And I'm not really entirely sure if I believe this part of the story, but supposedly this guy was a Satanist. Supposedly. I don't know. I'm not saying I do know. There's not a lot of evidence that backs that up. But the reason why that allegation sticks a little bit is because of the way that the Statue of Liberty looks and is designed. Now, me personally, I have been to the Statue of Liberty lots of times before, and growing up, I always thought that it didn't look like a woman. And you might be saying to yourself, well, you know, that's okay. Some women are very masculine. And you know what? That is true. Some women are very masculine. But to me, the first time that I actually ever saw the Statue of Liberty was back when I was, I think, 11 at the time. And there was always just something off about it. I don't know. You know, I've talked about this many times before, that one of my spiritual gifts is the gift of red flag spiritual discernment. At least that's what I try to use and have for my life and this world, because I feel like we could all use a little bit more discernment in our world. Can I get an amen? Anybody? Never mind. I always thought it was weird. And there's just something always off about it. And me as a kid, I could tell you story after story about how many times I was right about people, about their characters, and it ended up coming out later what those people did. So looking back on this now as a 20-something-year-old, 11-year-old me might have been right. So, well, you might be asking yourself, is the Statue of Liberty Lucifer? Like, where are we going with this? I'm a little confused right now. Well, let's just look at a close-up of a different thing that happened just a little while afterward. So this, and I'm just gonna go to the next picture because that was not very PG, so sorry. I should have put a warning on that. You're gonna see tiny man parts. But this is a painting that was done for a relatively interesting reason. So this was done by a man named Thomas Lawrence, and this painting was imposed for the 1797 Royal Academy's annual exhibition, and it's titled Satan Calling His Legions, the first book of Milton. Now, this painting got a lot of criticism and a lot of backlash. People were kind of like, dude, why? Why this? Why this scene? What called you to do Satan calling his legions? Because apparently people in the 1700s had a little bit more weariness of like witches and like bad juju, bad vibes, demons, all of that stuff. It seems like in 2024 we just kind of like go with it and we just like want to worship it and just like hang out with it and whatnot. I literally saw a TikTok 2 days ago that was like, little do Christians know, hell isn't going to punish all of us. It's going to damnate all of you for your sins. And it was like of her in a bathtub. I don't know, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I really do pray for those people because there really is something twisted and messed up in their head. So back to the painting though. This was done in 1797. The Statue of Liberty was in the 1800s, after the Civil War. That was over 80 years. 75, 80-year difference. That's a while. This painting was not done after the statue, which would call into question, where did Frederick here get his inspiration for the Statue of Liberty? Now, there's a lot of speculation. A lot of people have said that it's a he said, she said. Okay, that's why I say this is all supposedly, this is all alleged. They say that he got his inspiration from the way his mother looked, from the way his best friend's mother looked. It was just a generic French woman that he had seen in passing. Whatever the reason is, if you take a close look at the Statue of Liberty and you put it side by side with this painting, I don't know. I see it in the nose, I see it in the jawline, I see it in the hair, and in the arms. It seems kind of close, if you ask me. Now, personally, I don't believe in, just mistakes, just coincidences, like it was random, let it go. No, I really don't believe in that. Do I think that Frederick was a Satanist and designed the Statue of Liberty off of Lucifer? Quite frankly, I don't know. But a lot of coincidences. Speaking of another coincidence? English is hard. In Revelations, it describes Lucifer as the morning star. Now, if you take the word Lucifer is our English word. But if you translate it back to Latin, which I think is super important when you're studying theology, Bible, or just like anything that's historical in biblical settings, 1 AD, BC, like around that era, when Jesus was, like living and breathing and like walking on the earth and doing his miracles, water, fire, all of that. It's important to go back to the Hebrew, the Aramaic, and the Latin, because a lot of stuff seems to be getting lost in translation these days, okay, y'all? I mean, gay used to mean happy-go-lucky, and now it means you like it from behind. I'm sorry, that was a terrible thing to say. But I'm just saying, though. So if we take the word Lucifer, and I hate that I know this because I had studied this in classical conversations in homeschool. We had to learn Latin. It's freaking terrible, I'm not gonna lie. But the word Lucifer, if you break it down, means morning star or light bearer. Lux means light in Latin. The Ithifer basically means the bearer, the star, the bringer of, okay? So, morning star, light bearer, this is what Satan, Lucifer, the devil, if you will, is called. And that's why I find it kind of rather interesting. We're not going to get to the book just yet. But the Statue of Liberty is also known as the light bearer. Now, coincidence? Probably. Maybe. I don't really know. I just find it rather interesting that it's in the same position, it's called the same thing, and the guy who designed it was supposedly a Satanist. I'm not really sure if I believe that. It was, the 1800s. They did a lot of wild stuff. Was this one of those wild things? I don't know. I can't talk to him. So I don't think any of us are ever going to get our answer, because at this point it's a he said, she said, and whatever we can find in history textbooks that were not burned up or destroyed by the shadow governments. That being said, have you guys ever heard the conspiracy theory that celebrities are doppelgangers or they're reincarnations of people from the past? Now this goes fully Illuminati and shadow government, because people take the Statue of Liberty and they say that, well, it's just a coincidence, because quite frankly, it also could be Bruce Jenner, or it could be Owen Wilson, right? Like, look at the statue. Honestly, she could be, that could be Owen Wilson. Let's be honest with ourselves. Give Owen Wilson a book and a torch, and that could be Owen Wilson. Or it could be Bruce Jenner before he decided that she wanted to cosplay as a woman. I don't know. Doppelgangers exist. But this goes totally off the rails for a minute, and I just wanted to bring this up because I think it is kind of fascinating and it just gives me a little bit of kick and giggles. But have you guys ever seen these photos before? Now, if you Google in your search engine celebrity reincarnations with their past doppelgangers, you'll get lots of pictures. Like here we have Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, Eddie Murphy. Here we have Steve Carell. Here we have Michael Jackson, and plenty of other celebrities with their supposed past doppelgangers. Now, are some of these fake? Yeah, absolutely. But a lot of these paintings and pictures and statues are actually historical paintings and pictures from museums. And that being said, I find it interesting the timelines of everything with the Statue of Liberty, the painting of Satan, Lucifer, summoning his legions, that was done over 75 years prior to the statue being erected. Now, this is just totally off the rails, quite frankly. I know it is, but I've just been seeing a lot of TikToks about it, and I thought if I found it interesting, maybe somebody else would find it interesting as well. Now, on the Statue of Liberty, you know, the classic, the bring me your tired, bring me your weary, and I shall give them a place where they can lay down your burdens. To me, that always sounded biblical. And if there's one thing that I absolutely know that Satan is impeccable at, it's taking things that are perfect, things that are biblical, things that were just perfection in God's eyes, and corrupting it and twisting it for his own contorted, twisted, evil, downright just demonic ideas. That's kind of the whole point of him. And when you look at a lot of the stuff with, let's just broaden our search horizons even wider, you could go to Stonehenge, you could do the pyramids in Egypt, the pyramids in places like Mesopotamia, in Mexico, South America, the Eiffel Tower, even the Washington Monument in DC. That's another one I kind of want to cover at a later date because I know the history behind it, but there's a lot of other darker history behind a lot of the stuff in DC that I feel like we should talk about a little bit more. And who better to talk about it than me, because I'm kind of like loving the conspiracy theory side of everything these days. And I'm also really loving the fact that we can talk about this because it's fun. And also, I used to be in DC every Saturday with my family walking the National Mall because why not? Speaking of other things, that's kind of interesting. Greek and Latin are two of one of the oldest languages that exist. And remember how I said earlier you need to translate everything back to the original source because, again, things get lost in translation. It happens. One thing I want to talk about, though, is that since the Statue of Liberty is one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world, there is something that Satanists have to do when regarding showing us the blatant evil that they possess. And it's really dark to say, but it's universal equitation and dealing with the matters of morality and good and evil. And he might be like, what the actual heck is that? Basically, to sum it up, when evil people do things, they have to put it right in front of you and they have to tell you what they're doing because of the universal karma in the universe and the world, and the Milky Way will get back to them and destroy them if they don't. Okay? Are we tracking? Are we following? So basically, to put this in like a little story, if they, the Satanists, or the demon worshippers, evil people, were to sell you poisoned apples and you purchase the apple, because capitalism, yay, and you were to eat it and get sick and die, the universe would get retribution against them because they sold you a poison apple. But if they told you that they were selling poison apples and you still bought it and ate it, then they're clean. They have wiped their hands of the situation. So that's essentially what they have to do with their ideas and with their plans for us the people. Because remember, they don't care like who you serve as long as it's not God. Because if you're not playing for his team, you're automatically against them. It doesn't matter if you're playing the team of Buddha, of Ishtar, of Muhammad, anybody else, okay? Speaking of another god, another correlation that I found, that conspiracy theory, coincidence, I don't know. I'm just throwing out the information. You guys can do with it whatever you will. But it's Ishtar. Hold on, I need to bring this up. Where is it? There we go. Okay, Ishtar. Ishtar is the Babylon war goddess, the goddess of war and kind of death. Now, if you look at lots of renditions of this goddess, it's remarkably close to the Statue of Liberty. The spikes, the torch, the holding things. Like, you could say that that's a classic pose for somebody. I don't know. I just like to see correlations in things. Blame it on the fact that playing Match It Monopoly and Guess Who was such a normal game in my house with all of my cousins and my friends, okay? I'm now trained to try to find the matches, all right? So if that annoys you, pardon me, I guess. So, Ishtar, Babylon goddess, war, death. Here's one rendition of this person, which, by the way, why? There, the phone's better. Which, by the way, why are they never wearing clothes? I never fully understood that. I'm not sure if nudity was just something that, since they were just so fascinated with it amongst many of the cultures in the past, that it was just normal to paint statues and artwork and things on the walls that just blatantly have it just all out on display. And honestly, I can't say that 2024 is any better. Public nudity is absolutely legal, and no one can do a thing about it, especially since we're in June, everybody. It's June, okay? If you want to go walk around in just a front thong or nothing, because that happens in blue states all the freaking time, you go do so. Go do it right now. It'll be great. And the police can't do a damn thing about it, especially if you're around children, because if they stop you and you do it around children, it's worse. Someone riddle me that. I don't understand that. Not to completely go off on a different side tangent, but how come they're not allowed to do anything about it? Especially if they're in front of children. Like, they're not allowed to stop it if it's just people in general, but they're definitely not allowed to stop it if it's in front of children, which seems backwards to me. I don't know. It's a rather interesting thought. Well, those are my thoughts for the day on the Statue of Liberty and Lucifer, Frederick and Edward de Lablole, and all the people that were involved in this situation. Again, this is solely just for fun. I'm not claiming that the Statue of Liberty is the gateway to hell or that these people were actually Satanists. I'm just throwing out all the alleged information and the facts that I have, and you could do with it as you will. Take this information, go do your own research on it. Comment down below what kind of conspiracy theory ideas we would want to talk about next, because there are a lot in the world and I have lots of time to talk about it. So let's do a series. Conspiracy theories about weird historical world monuments, part endless, because this is going to be fun. Until next time, everybody, I will see you on the flip side.